Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Planet Technologies' April 2026 Cloud Office Hours for the Defense Industrial Base, titled Copilot Agents in GCC High, Real-Life Use Cases, Live Demos, and Quick Wins. My name is Matt Nevins. I'm a mission executive here at Planet serving the Defense Industrial Base, and I'm joined today by two great team members, Tim Lynch, who is an OCM architect, as well as Bill Beener, who is a consultant on our collaboration team. Today's agenda is pretty straightforward. We do want to give a quick GCC High Copilot update about where things stand, what's been released, and what's coming. We'll focus on use case development. We'll give some example use cases and how they're created and some ways we measure them. And the best part is we'll have some live demos. At the end, we'll have some question and answer, which we'll go over some pre-submitted questions from attendees. And if anybody has any questions, you can feel free to submit those during the talk through the Q&A function within Teams. So first, let's talk and give a GCC High Copilot update. Just to review where we're at, as many of you know, Copilot in GCC High launched on December 1st of last year. This was the core Copilot offering from Microsoft, which included Copilot in Microsoft 365 apps, premium Copilot chat, basic compliance controls, and notebooks. While these were all well received, many of us were looking forward to a lot more features, and luckily we've been treated to a pretty good bevy of that here the last couple of weeks through the evolution of Microsoft's Wave 2, as they've called it. A couple of notes of things that have launched in the last 6 weeks, and these are staggered, varying degrees of launch over the last 6 weeks, but these should mostly be available in everybody's tenant. First is GPT 5.1 for Copilot Chat. Second is GPT 5 for reasoning. Next is GPT 4.0 for image creation, and image creation in general was launched. There's also been an updated Copilot search experience that provides similar controls to the commercial experience. Connectors were a big thing that's gone live as well, allowing organizations to connect external data sources and even their own LLMs. Additionally, in-product feedback was a big thing that launched here just in the last couple of weeks. And lastly, the big topic for today, which are agents. Those agents that have launched at this point are Researcher, Analyst, the Agent Builder Experience, and Copilot Studio. As many of you know, Researcher is really focused on multi-step research by gathering and synthesizing information across work content to produce clearer, grounded drafts. And this, of course, is running within the US boundary for cloud. Analyst Agent supports data analysis by tuning information into structured insights and visualizations for decisions, briefings, including pattern detection and clear summaries of large volumes of information. Agent Builder expands agent creation capabilities in GCC High by enabling users to package instructions, prompts, and work knowledge into reusable agents that help ensure more consistent Copilot responses, grounded in organizational information in the right context. These, of course, are shareable across the organization and publishable through the agent catalog. And lastly, Copilot Studio agents. This extends the agentic experience to the tools users rely on every day by enabling organizations to make vetted, purpose-built agents directly in familiar Microsoft 365 surfaces. This capability helps scale consistent, role-relevant guidance and workflows while keeping usage within the same security and compliance boundaries of our cloud. So we're really excited, and that's our main topic today. Before we jump off of the update, I do want to highlight a couple of places where there's still some developments happening. First is the robust adoption, activity, and usage reports. While these are coming in the future, and there are some public GitHub-type repos out there that can provide some insights, these are still working items. This is a place where we're really seeing a need from customers. We're using things like DSPM reports and activity reports to drive some of that through some custom dashboards, but certainly getting Microsoft native adoption, activity, and usage reports are going to be a big win there, so hopefully soon. Consolidated administration interface. So there are still different areas where settings are controlled for Copilot within M365. That's both in the Office configuration area as well as the Copilot area, in addition to various parts of Purview. GPT 5.2 reasoning, we're hoping that's going to be launching soon as well. This will, of course, bring one of the newest models to the reasoning experience. The next two, Copilot in Teams. While there's some availability of Copilot within Teams, the full experience still has not launched. Though this, when it does launch, will certainly be a big boon to productivity within Teams. And then lastly, the app-specific agents of Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, again, are coming soon. As somebody who uses these in the commercial side quite frequently, that'll be something that'll be very welcome, especially the Excel agent, which I think is really powerful. So after that update, I'm going to pass it over to Tim, who's going to talk about how we develop at Planet Technologies agentic use cases for the DIB.
Oh, thank you very much, Matt. This is gonna be so much fun. So we get Copilot in our environments, all of the plumbing and governance is ready to go, and now your users do what with it? So what we have created is a human-centered methodology that uses a lot of frameworks to come together to help IT and business come a little closer together on what exactly they would like an agent to do, why they would like an agent to do it. And having your agentic use cases defined, I'm actually going to share here in the chat. This is a recent study. It's 16 days old out of Harvard University that really looked at having agentic use cases tied to the production of the firm, and that those that can get their agentic use cases aligned with the production of the firm have a 2x impact. So there is an ROI to it. And what we're trying to do with this methodology is really break through that. We have an idea for an agent. How do we articulate it? How do we govern it? And so this is why we have created this process. Matt, I don't have the ability to go next, so I'll just say next. And so this framework really uses 4 phases: discovery, document, design, and create. And our team works with your team to go through that discovery process. There might be some frameworks, some forms, however you do it in your organization, for allowing your users to raise their hand and say, I have an idea, or I think this might be an area where AI can be brought to bear to improve the way that we're doing our businesses. And so, Matt, if you go to the next slide, this is really how we do it, right? This is the discovery of it. We use interviewing methodologies, laddering and probing, and ethnographic research frameworks to get to understand what they're doing today and what they've either thought about, they've heard other people in other firms, what they've been doing, so that we can kind of build that bridge of where they are today and what they're looking to do next. And we take all of this information, and by the way, this takes place pretty quickly. It's a very relaxed, semi-formal environment where we record the entire conversation. We tie it to the business unit, to their use case, to what they're actually trying to achieve. And then, Matt, if you go to the next slide, this is where we use this 12-point framework to bring every single concept that comes out of these interviews to life. So what we do is we build a straw man, if you will, that has all 12 aspects. What are the success metrics, both qualitatively and quantitatively, that if this thing were to exist, what is the impact that it would have on the business? How do we implement it? What are the AI services that need to be involved? Where is the data sources? All of this comes together on every single one of the use cases that we have. And that way, Matt, if you go to the next slide, this allows the IT organization to take the briefing and say, okay, this is an idea that we have. Is it ready? Is there governance? Who else needs to be involved? And we use that launch analogy, if you will, from a mission briefing to a pre-flight check, flight review, build and launch. And in the world of AI, we're never really done. Even as Matt was updating his slides this morning, still making changes. So model changes are going to come in, new reasoning models. I'm talking to you today on April 16th, and we're expecting two major models to be released today, Spud from OpenAI and Opus 4.7. So when we build these agents, the flight ops is really important because there can be changes to the data, changes to the knowledge, or changes to the instructions that are needed. I make it sound a lot worse than it is. Many of them are just check-ins and updates. Every now and then, there can be compliance changes where there's rule changes or governance changes, and those need to be flown back through the instructions of any of our agents. So one of the dynamics that we see is an agent is never really done. It just moves into an ops and maintenance stage where they need to be checked and where appropriately retired. I would say over the past years, not in GCC High, but in other customers, what we see is there's a defined need at the start for maybe 4 different segregated agents that now with the new models, new reasoning, and new functionality should actually be consolidated. So in some cases, it's an expansion, and in other cases, it's a contraction. But my point is that you're not done. Congratulations, you're on this journey, and you're on this journey forever. So Matt, if you go to the next one, let's see. Oh, one of our attendees was having trouble with it.
Yeah, we're
so I
working
hope
through it, Tim. Yeah.
Okay. So part of this is that, how do we know there's a lot of what is the ROI of AI? How do we know that this is successful? And we do that by having defined at the onset in our hypothesis, what are the qualitative measures that we would see if this was successful or unsuccessful? And what are the quantitative KPIs? Some of that Matt talked about with our adoption metrics and usage. Others we'll see from downstream effects on the business, whether that's tickets closing, deal cycle times contracting, whatever those measures are. But having the balance of both qualitative and quantitative allows us at those review times to zoom out a little bit and see the agent performance. We've got some use cases where we've got an agent in with clients. If you looked at how many times it's interacted with every month, it is on the lower side of their other agents. But the impact to the business is significantly higher. So in those cases, like that's why we do the dual components, because when you zoom out a little bit, and you can see this may be low usage but high impact, and we just want to factor those into the reviews as you're trying to make decisions about edits, updates, expansions, or retirement closure. Obviously, what we don't want to do is end up with agent sprawl where we have thousands and thousands of agents and nobody owns them. And I don't want to trigger the audience here with the whole technical debt, but we could be setting ourselves up in that area if we're not proactive on that. Matt, if you go to the next slide, we just did this in GCC High with 3 business units, 3 distinct aspects of the business. Coming out of that, we generated 27 different use cases. It's a little overwhelming when Planet delivers that to somebody, because remember, every single one of those has all 12 business impact areas articulated out. So it's a lot.
It's a lot.
Did I get? Sorry about that. I was getting a little bit of an echo. Um, but we give all of that information. So we have those 27 use cases. Not all of them become something that you have to do now. So I don't want the audience to think, oh my gosh, the last thing I want is, 200 pages from Tim or Planet with something I have to do next month. It's these are all of the use cases we discussed, and then working with IT in the business, saying out of all of these, what are the highest priorities for you? What is the criteria for that priority? There might be a budgetary or a contract or an opportunity you're going after. That is why you would score one higher than the other. We still have those. We have that framework, but that allowed the team to then prioritize which agent use cases they're actually going to build out. So that's when it goes into the design phase to actually get a work breakdown structure, a plan, a timeline, a statement of work, if you will, to actually create those agents. So one of the examples is for compliance work, and that was able to take their compliance training and really compress it into an agent so that as compliance, and this is kind of what I'm allowed to share, but there was a lot of international regulations on that are constantly changing. So by changing the knowledge, actually automatically updated the agent. Therefore, the time to create new training was significantly less. And the experience was uniform across everybody that needed this, which was everybody from the shop floor to the warehouse to procurement. So and I believe, in addition to the recording, the slides will be shared for you, so you'll have all of those frameworks. But it's really about that human-centered design around what the business is trying to achieve in the enterprise environmental factors of what is our IT stance, our governance policies, so that we can create all of those and really start to have that. We're going intentionally. We're measuring our outcomes. Not everything is going to win, right? We just know that. So, but going into it allows us it gives us an opportunity to address the sunk cost fallacy so that we know at the outset of a project, if it hits this milestone, we're going to do this. If it doesn't hit this performance metric, then we're going to do that. By laying those out at the start of this effort, what we're trying to do is to give ourselves and the team an opportunity to avoid that. We keep adding more and more to a project that doesn't see the light of day. We really want to give ourselves a chance to do that. So we do that across M365. So whether that's M365 agents, Copilot Studio agents, or Azure agents, there are different things, different aspects of an agentic need that would be a reason why it would settle into one area or another. And having this on the front end before we have actually configured anything also saves time and speeds up the process, because rather than coming in and saying this has to be Azure, when in fact it can be an M365 agent, can save a lot of time and can get value to your users a lot faster. I'm going to pause here because I could get on my agent soapbox, but that's why Bill's here. So I'm going to pass things over to Bill and enjoy the show.
Yeah, before we do that, I wanted to chime in. I think there's one piece of information on that slide I think is really important, and has actually resonated a lot here in the last couple of weeks as our DIB organizations begin to mature more on agentic AI
Mhm.
beyond what's available in Copilot. And I came to realize that the DIB was in an interesting position because we all wanted AI in our organizations, so much so that when OpenAI landed on Azure last year, a lot of our organizations actually chose to implement their own models and their own platforms and their own engines for providing access to internal data. And it led to this almost inverse effect of the DIB being ahead of commercial organizations and their own custom agents on the OpenAI and Azure AI side, but of course not having access to Copilot. Now that we've got these two forces combining, the governance aspect of this has come to be perhaps the largest conversation we're having with customers here in the last couple of months, because we have Azure AI Foundry available now with multiple models, and we have this convergence of custom-built models by organizations wanting to integrate those into Copilot, and those things coming together. And so the governance conversation has really become something that is gaining a lot of steam and should be at the forefront for most organizations, regardless of whether they're developing use cases or not. The governance aspect of this is really important to our sets of customers, and just wanted to point that out.
Absolutely.
Okay, Bill, over to you to talk about our 4 use cases for today ahead of some demos.
Yeah, I'm going to try and take control there. Looks like it was successful. Or not. Oh, we'll find out. So thanks, everyone. Thanks for spending time with us today. Hope I make the best use of my short amount of time with you. I want to talk to you about 4 agents. Tim talked about how, part of developing our use cases is, walk me through your day. So what I've put together is kind of we're going to walk through the day of someone named Tarrant who works in a DIB, wears multiple hats, and we're going to see what that looks like. The first agent we're going to look at is an OCI agent, and really its power comes in and being able to identify conflict, conflict of interest within contracts, whether you're bringing in a vendor to do work internally and you're doing work with them with the government, it's looking for that type of conflict. Then we're going to take a look at Redline. What's kind of fun is when you build these, you get to make up these names. So, I had a blast making and have an AI generate the logo. So it's pretty cool. Redline is a contract language agent that is designed to accelerate contract cycles. But one of its more important or features that I like is that it can recycle legalese that appeared in other contracts so that it doesn't have to be developed, started from scratch, and vetted through legal back and forth, and get through that redlining and blacklining. So definitely a pretty cool agent. Matchpoint, it's about faster staffing and better outcomes. And in our day in the life of Tarrant, he's got some contractors that are going to be rolling off, and leadership's looking to keep them working. So they want to see what contracts they have available they can roll them into. And then there's last but not least is Rapid Ready. Rapid Ready is
chat, but we're not seeing your screen. I still see the Y agentic use cases screen.
All right, so Juan can see.
Maybe it's not. Yeah, I
can
see
see it.
11 of 28. I don't see it.
Okay.
You may need to jump off and jump back on. There's a PowerPoint live.
Yeah, I know that voice.
Okay.
That's Vincent.
I'll try it.
All right. Awesome. Rapid Ready screen. Thank you, guys. So Rapid Ready is about optimizing the resources, ensuring that we've got the right folks in the right seat on the right bus, and maintaining that readiness over our projects. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and jump in. And I'm actually going to deviate from your share there, Matt. You can take it over. I'm actually going to be in my environment here. All right. So Tarrant wears multiple hats. These are the agents. Each one that I mentioned is a varying level of complexity, right? So we have a very simple Copilot agent that handles OCI. We've got a little bit more complicated on the it's a orchestration model for multi-topic, and then we've got custom, which is actually running in Foundry. So pretty cool. Let's get to it. All right. Parent, find me the terms and conditions clause, etc. I know it was a defaults deal. Okay, so for something like that, I'm gonna hop into our contract search agent. So this is multi-purpose, multi-topic, but for all intents and purposes here, I'm actually going to, so you can save me, I can save you from me typing. And I just wanted to find the most recent general indemnification clause that they used in previous contracts. And Tim did volunteer to tap dance during the moments that we're waiting. All right, so it looks like got some recent clauses. Okay, great. So let me see what those look like. I can click up, pops up on the right-hand side. I'm able to jump right down to those keywords clauses. And it's like, you know what? I think that one's the one he's looking for. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to use it to bear with me one sec. Okay. Where'd you go? All right. Sorry about that. Grant me a new indemnification. All right, it looks simple enough, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take that. Now, if I wanted to, I could also open up the contracts where it was pulled from, and I can send him the PDF. But for purposes of time, I'm just going to go ahead and send him the indemnification. All right. Fantastic. Looks good. What else does he need? All right. Can I run these through OCI and see if they're clear? If not, give them conflict info. So it looks like here that they're going to want to bid on a couple contracts. So let's see if we currently have any conflicts with our existing contract portfolio. So on the back end, this agent I'm about to use, OCI, is actually has access to our portfolio. So come in here, and I'm actually just going to paste the whole opportunity. Conflicts, and I'm going to send it. So it looks like there is. The recommendation is to avoid. Yeah, so it looks like there's a conflict on that one. I'm just going to paste that in there for him. I'm going to grab his other one. Looks like DHS cybersecurity. Nice. And I'm going to hop back up in here. Recommendation is also to avoid, so there is an OCI. So sorry, Bill, you're going to have to let those go. Okay. Let's see. Resources for a solicitation. So got specifications for a contract bid. They need 2 resources. And these are our requirements. All right. So senior cloud, cool. Best tool we're going to use for that is going to be our resource scout. And 2 architects with Azure. What do we have? So this is looking at an active project. So it's looking at available resources. And later on, we're going to see just a quick demo of 2 agents or 2 folks who are rolling off of a project. And we're looking for work to put them on. So we'll be able to match them to an open requirement. All right, so it looks like I got 3 candidates. Cleared. That looks good. I'm gonna pick candidates 2 and 3, I think. Yeah. And first thing we also want to check is, are they available? So Logan's not available. That's unfortunate. Let's go ahead instead of Logan. That was Finley, and yeah, we'll do 2 and 3 then. Yeah, so put a team together. Candidates 2 and 3. For a solicitation demo. Now, it's also great way for this to generate the output. These resumes are actionable, so you can click on them and they do open up in the side panel, and you can actually download it and also attach it to the email. So looking over our 2 candidates here, looks pretty good. Confidence score high. This team's well equipped to handle the requirements. So actually going to take that. And right before I go, I want to see those resumes. Like I said, and then I can even I can grab a local copy if anyone wanted to. And last but not least, Give me an outline. So far, we've used 3 different agents. We've used the OCI validator to check for conflicts in contracts. We've used the contract snippets for reusing already approved code that was in existing contracts to develop a new clause. And keeping in mind that Copilot's not, playing the role of lawyer, it's just reusing what's already out there. All right, let's take a look at that. I got my resumes. I'm going to send this off to Bill. Awesome. See if there's anything else he needs after that. As soon as they give me access to your, yes, it is super efficient. All of them. Who do we have rolling off? And who do we have for cloud? And it looks like experience. Yeah, let's take a look. Actually, I can use the same agent. Who do we have rolling off? Contracts. The next 60 days was his ask. Have cloud protection. And match them to any So tell me who we got and where we can put them and keep them working. Now this one by nature it's quite the clause, if you will, go deep. So we're looking at, existing contracts, their complete, their period of performance, and then matching them to, let's see here. Yeah, I think that just hallucinated and made that up. So let's try that again. Oh, I did. Fantastic. We'll give Resource Scout another shot. I believe in it. So what we should get is 2 candidates with an open solicitation. That's the expected result. There we go. That's what we should have got. So we have candidate 1, Logan. We got Kendall Patel, Terry Perry, cool name. And then we've got solicitations that are in the pipeline that they are perfect matches for. So I'm going to grab this and I'm going to send that off to Bill. And does he have anything else? A deep dive on Contoso Federal. Okay. Looks like we might be going into business with Contoso Federal. So let's go ahead and, does anybody want to guess? Which agent? OCI checker. We're going to start there. This is going to tell us what contracts, and then we'll be able to use another agent to actually go through those contracts and identify all of the conflicts. So again, we're going to be leveraging our portfolio, which consists partially in SharePoint and partially in Dataverse. Ooh, what happened to my solicitation? Oh boy. Let's try that again. Okay. I'm just grabbing the actual listing. All right, there you go. Very sassy. See, it's not me. That's okay. And 3 is going to be a charm. Oh, wait, that's not putting the right one in there. That's why. Yeah.
So we've got a question while
Yeah.
the agent's working from Brad. It says, where are you querying the resources from in the agent? In other words, what are the sources there?
So they're all over. There's SharePoint document libraries, Dataverse. There are blob storage or data lake or data puddle, depending on how much data you got in there. It could be anything.
In this case, are you using web grounding as well, or is that turned off?
For this one, it's turned off. Yeah.
Yep. So only specific resources that are applicable to the organization.
Yeah, so it's what the way when you're building the agent, you're specifying knowledge. We specify the core data sources and then supplemental, like any additional documentation. So it could be Dataverse, SharePoint library, and 2 documents, and then we can have the agent only focus on that. We can even have it not use the language model, just the data we specify. It really depends on how hyper focused the agent needs to be, basically.
That's your question, Brett? Great.
So I'm gonna let that run. His last ask, because I know I'm coming up on time. Enough of seeing that guy, right? Looks like he wants to check a couple more. All right, so what do we know about Contoso? Okay. So it looks like we do have some. Looks like, oh, there are no current active contracts are for Tech Vanguard. So it looks like we're good to do business with Contoso. But I'm just curious why it wanted me to look at these two, unless they're doing business with Contoso. And that is not my job. There's a conflict somewhere. The current active contracts with the following agencies. So I would want to probably sit down. Ooh, I like working with the CISA one. I would probably sit down and spend some time with my contract agent, and I would become a little more intimate. But pending your questions, comments, and feedback, that's going to do it for me, guys. You've been great. Agents have been great. Happy to answer any questions you might have as far as, what it took to develop them. Can we, what models are available? What does the performance look like? Do we want folks creating agents? My answer is yes.
Great. Thanks, Bill. I'm going to go ahead and take control back.
Yeah, by all means.
So now that we're through the demos there, we'll open it up to a couple of questions we got ahead of time. Do always encourage that. And if folks have any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat or come off mute. And so there'll be different answers to several of these. The first one there specifically around how Copilot needs to be turned on if we have GCC High with various different aspects like Power Automate, AI Hub, AI Prompts, GPT-4o LLMs, and how will this apply to LLMs or do each need to be configured? I think, Bill, you were going to take that one.
Yeah, so if I'm understanding this, how do you need to configure Copilot if you're in a GCC High environment and you're currently leveraging those services? Is that correct?
Yeah, if the person who asked that question is on, if you have any clarification you could provide, that'd be great. And if not, we can try to answer it.
I'll still answer it. So,
And I'm going to add color.
So how would we configure it? Well, we would let folks create agents, right? They would probably need a Power Automate license for our more, complex or accomplished agent developers. I don't really see a specific configuration that other than leaving the agents open for everyone to create and having, trained admins on what it looks like to approve agents when they're, can be made available to the organization. Outside of that, I don't see anything that you would need to modify to accommodate Copilot. But Tim might differ.
I do. No, only in the gotcha in the question is that 4.0 model. Because in 4.0, it was able to, and one of the reasons that OpenAI got so much pushback on 4.0 to 5 was because in 4.0, it was able to infer intent. Amazing. It's what people fell in love with it for.
That's the
GPT
default right now, right?
Well, no, because 5 is, depending on where you are, 5 is there.
If you're building an agent, it's 4 is your default.
Right.
Yeah.
And so as 5 comes in, your instructions need to be changed because the instructions that got you the output that you really liked when you were using 4.0 need to be refactored to work with 5. Will need to be refactored with 5.1, 5.2, 5.4, and whatever we're going to call Spud that comes out today. So those are it's not massive, but it's going to be nuanced because the quality of the output is going to be impacted by the instructions.
Gotcha.
Great.
Two sides of the coin there.
Thanks, Tim. The next question there, I actually kind of answered that in our GCC High Copilot roadmap update earlier. And it was actually prompted me to add some of those missing features that are listed there. But essentially, there's no public roadmap to share on dashboards and analytics at this point. Though I would encourage you to reach out to your Microsoft reps who may be able to share some additional information there. But we're not able to share that here on this call. And then the last question was about integrations of AI into various security tools. And I think probably I'll take a first swag at this and then maybe filter in some other comments. If I'm understanding the intent of the question here, it's about using AI to further advance the capabilities of the security tools, not necessarily monitoring AI with security tools. If that's incorrect, and the person who asked that question is on the call, would happily take some advisement. But yeah, so the obvious answer there is Microsoft will eventually be releasing Security Copilot within GCC High at some point in the future. And so that's certainly going to have its own effects on driving the usage of AI within native security tools. That'll, of course, go across Defender and Sentinel and Purview and other aspects of the security and compliance suite. So I would say that, from a Microsoft native aspect, that's really going to be our starting point is when Security Copilot becomes available. Outside of that, surely we're seeing AI integrated into lots of third-party tools as well, depending on what you use. And so while we're not experts on those, I would say that seeing those integrated into those platforms is likely generally beneficial from an operations and management perspective of being able to more effectively work on that front. If the question was more so about integrating monitoring of AI like Copilot and Foundry into security tools that are available, that's a bit more mature discussion at this point. So between Foundry on the Azure side and then Purview and DSPM on the Copilot side, and then Sentinel in the middle, we have some pretty good native auditing, monitoring, and reporting capabilities from a security perspective. So we can see individual prompting, we can see risk of those prompts, we can see intent of those prompts based on behavior through DSPM. And then on the Foundry side, we can look for, as I mentioned back to the governance side, we can look for agents that might have high consumption or be functioning in a way that weren't intended, or that maybe need approvals based on their specific knowledge or models they might be using. So that coupled with, like I said, between Azure Foundry and Sentinel and Purview, that would be kind of the trifecta of the security aspects of AI within the Microsoft platform. See another question popped in. Has there been any discussion of Microsoft releasing a Copilot coding agent within the GCC High boundary? So I can't get into specifics. However, part of the wave 2 that was announced back in January is that there is going to be code interpretation available within Copilot natively. Now, I expect that is not going to be to the level of something like GitHub Copilot or Claude. However, it will provide some code interpretation on that front. So nothing else to share beyond that. It certainly would be a welcome addition. What we see customers doing in the meantime to address that is that typically a lot of our customers who are developing software or artifacts that are going to be used in like things like Terraform or deploying their own solutions, or even for managing agents at a Terraform or code level, because generally those agents themselves aren't necessarily any sort of controlled information. We see the process of developing low and promoting to high. In other words, we can dev over on GitHub in private repos with whatever model we choose. There's, I think, a dozen or so models you can use over on GitHub Copilot. And then you can actually just promote that code over into your GovSpace through CI/CD pipelines. So we see a lot of organizations in the meantime doing that right now. As long as what you're developing from a code perspective is doesn't fall within your CUI boundary. Generally, it's the data that code is doing things with that is the CUI itself.
Yeah, and I'm just going to chime in back on that roadmap. While we don't have the analytics, there is analytics in Purview, so we can get it. We can see what usage is. It's not the adoption dashboards that we'll get to as Microsoft continues to update this. But there are early analytics. It's just more intentional of setting a monthly or quarterly review cadence for those.
I see Planet's own Josh Fuente has a question, or has his hand up.
No, I just wanted to chime in on the coding agents. There is opportunity to connect things like VS Code and Cursor and Open Code to a Foundry hosted model so that you're interacting with a model that's within your boundaries doing that coding.
That's a great point. Yep. Thank you. Okay. With that, we have reached our time. I want to thank everybody for attending our April session here. Hopefully this is a great one. We're really excited about this and where agentic AI within Copilot and Azure are going, and can't wait to see you next month. Thank you.